If you could probably try to relate it to family members.
Okay, so how would you say that? How about, even if you think this could never impact on you personally?
Your
you don't think
sister,
you-
your friend's sister, or mother could be in this situation, and you can get this information to help them out.
Exactly. So I hope you'll share this information with your sister, with your cousin, with your friends. You know, Joe, if you have a daughter, definitely make sure you share that information with her. So I want to make sure it's significant for my. So you always want to tell your audience, no matter what your topic is or who your audience is, why this is going to be a significant and important topic for them. Okay?
Gucci.
Okay, remember, ethos, pathos, and logos. Aristotle's modes of rhetorical proof. So I want to establish ethos, right? And ethos means ethics, credibility. I want my audience to think I'm credible. So how am I going to establish my credibility? References? Like what?
Statistics and things of that nature.
Well, you're a credibility person. Say, for example, I'm talking about public speaking. I could say, I have a bachelor's and master's degree in speech communication from Fresno State University. I have competed both nationally and internationally in public speaking competitions, and I've been teaching public speaking classes for the last 15 years. Am I credible to talk about that topic?
Si, senor.
What if I want to talk about global warming? Being a speech major in college, maybe an expert on global warming?
No?
Probably more than you think, because we did lots of speeches about that, so we've done lots of research on it, but that's what I want to say, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you picked a topic for your speeches that you really didn't know anything about, you just picked it because you thought it was an interesting topic, could you say to your audience, you know, I wasn't an expert on this topic when I picked it 3 weeks ago and started researching it, but over the last few weeks I have done tremendous research, lots of reading, really looked into it, and I feel like now I've got some valuable information I can share with you. So you want to tell your audience, why are you credible? So first question we had to answer, significance, what's in it for me? The audience is asking that. The next question I ask is, why should I listen to you? Why should I care about your topic, and why should I listen to you? So you have to tell us those two things. The next thing you need to do is we use the term thesis or central idea, like our book uses the term central idea, so you need to state your thesis. So if my speech is about global warming, and I don't believe that global warming exists, I'm going to say today I'm going to tell you why global warming doesn't exist. My thesis is going to state it, right? Your thesis is something we talked about already, so I don't think I should get into any discussion about this anymore. You don't know what I mean by thesis, right? The next thing you have to do, and
I think that's important.
think that's important?
Yes.
It's important. And I really put emphasis there, not because it's necessarily more important than any of these other things, although I will tell you it does impact your grade in several competencies instead of just one, so I guess it could be, if you want a good grade, more important than some of the others, because it impacts you in your competency that has to do with your introduction. When we're talking about here, it impacts you when we're talking about competency 4, when we're talking about organizing the body of the speech, and about organizational patterns, so it's clearly it's going to impact that and some other things too. So it is important with respect to your grade. But the reason why I emphasize this much is not that, because for some reason then, escapes me, and all the years I've been teaching public speaking, I've never been able to figure this out. No matter how much I emphasize it, no matter how much I tell you this is really important, don't forget to preview your main points. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Students forget to preview their main points more than anything else in the speech. In a good class, out of 25 students, 3 or 4 will actually have a good clear preview in their second speech, and then we're doing on Tuesday. By the last speech, maybe half or 2/3 do, because I've taken points off and written nasty notes on their grades and yelled at them about it. And after the semester, they try to remember. But for some reason, it's really hard to get through. So on Tuesday, I want to hear everybody preview their main points. So in the example I gave you when we were talking about the demonstration speech, and I said if I was demonstrating how to bake a chocolate cake, I'm going to say my thesis. Today, I'm going to teach you how to bake my favorite delicious chocolate cake recipe. I will begin by showing you what ingredients that you need. Next, I'll show you how to mix the cake and bake it, and finally I'll show you how to put that frosting on that I talked about. Okay, so you see I have a thesis and a preview? Mm-hmm. I can also put these two together if I want to. So today I'm going to show you how to gather all the ingredients, mix and bake, and then frost the most delicious chocolate cake you ever had. And now I've had my preview and my thesis together as one statement. I don't care whether your preview your main points is part of your thesis statement or if it's a separate statement from it. Either way, fine with me. Make sure you have both. Right? Any questions about that? Okay, we've just fit 45 minutes talking about introductions. We only have about 10 minutes left, and we haven't got to conclusions yet, so are we in trouble now? We'll talk about conclusions?
Totally trouble.
I'll tell you what, not only when we talk about conclusions, we'll get out of class at 2 and 30. Because I'm going to keep conclusions for our class and for our purposes very, very simple. Now, when you read your book, and you'll want to read your book and be familiar because you do have questions on the test, where your book talks about crescendo endings and all these different ways you can end your speech. And when you come back next semester and take the advanced public speaking class,
Sure.
which, by the way, they have seats open in.
Oh, sweet.
Cameron Bastiat, who's teaching that class, told me to tell you that they have some openings in the advanced public speaking class. You got to focus in on more some of these things. But for our purposes, because we are a introduction public speaking class, I'm going to keep the conclusions very, very simple. Right? So, first thing is, this is the conclusion I usually hear from my students in their speech. So, and at the end of the body of their speech, and they say something like that. Yeah, that's all I got. How's that for a conclusion? That's all I got.
That's horrible.
That's horrible, isn't it?
Maybe that was a lot.
I don't want to hear it. That's all I got. So that's it. So I want you to actually have a conclusion. So let's say, just to keep it simple here, I would have the body of my speech. And I've got my 3 main points in the body of my speech. And now I'm ready to do my conclusion, right? And one of the things that I'm going to need before I can start the conclusion of my speech is a transition that signals the end is near. And this is not like the Y2K speech, not the end of the world. It's only the end of the speech. But how am I going to do that? How am I going to let my audience know that I'm almost done?
Did you say like to conclude?
To conclude, okay, I can say that. In conclusion, that works, doesn't it? Shows a complete lack of creativity, but it works. Right? So hopefully you'll be a little more creative than in conclusion.
Today we discussed.
Today we discussed. Let me wrap this up by, let me finish with, today I'm going to leave you with, before I finish today, before I go, my final thoughts on, okay, there's dozens of ways you can do it, but you want to signal the end is near. What about if I just go, so, yeah. Is that good? That's not what we want. So, first thing I want to do is a transition that signals the speech is coming to a conclusion. The end is near. So, I say, let me finish today by reminding you of whatever. And then I've got 3 things I want to do in the conclusion of my speech. And I told you I was going to keep it really simple, and as you get more advanced in your public speaking, you will develop your conclusions more. And if you want to develop them more now, if you want to work on like a crescendo ending, the example they give in your book, I think is from is it the I Have a Dream speech or the Mountaintop speech, one of King's speeches, where they talk about how, I think it's the Mountaintop speech, where he builds up to that ending. And he does the same thing in the I Have a Dream speech. He builds up to what's called a crescendo ending, where his voice gets louder, and he starts speaking faster, and he comes to the end and says, and so in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, that God Almighty we're free at last. And that's what we do by crescendo ending, where it builds up to that. But that's great. And if you want to do that, man, I'll be impressed. If you just do these 3 things, I'll be happy. You'll be okay. You're there. So let me finish today by reminding you that